the reason that you have all these braces that you're starting to collect is because you've spent a few years building up this debt in tissue capacity relative to how hard you can play. And because that's happened, you're using these tools to basically make up for it.
Welcome back to another episode of Past Your Prime, the podcast for active adults balancing training, rehab, family, and real life. I'm Alex Kiker, pro volleyball player, working dad, and brace collector. Joined here by Craig Smith. He's a physical therapist, life professional, coach, and also a pro foot taper. That's new. No, I think we already knew that about him.
I like feet.
Stop. That just makes me so uncomfortable. Anyway, today we're tackling something everyone uses, but nobody actually understands. Artificial capacity. We talk about so many capacities in here.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. My food capacity has recently gone up. I'm eating so much. I need to stop.
My team often, I do think, harasses me a bit because the words I'll use they definitely get recycled quite a bit. Just
tissue and capacity.
Yeah. Gap. I think those are all ones I like to just go over and over again with.
So today we're talking about all of the things we slap on our body to survive life. Shoes that promise to fix your stride. Maybe some braces, not the ones that go on your teeth, but the ones that your physical therapist tells you not to get dependent on. And carbon-plated shoes that convince you you're Kipchoge. I think he's the marathon runner that used the illegal Nike shoes to run a marathon in about 8 minutes.
Yeah, I think he did
running a 30-second mile, right?
It wasn't quite that fast, but it was sub 2 hours for the whole marathon. I don't think it was an official, but it's still good.
I mean, he did it. He physically did it.
Yeah, total.
Regardless of the shoes, I think that's an amazing feat.
Well, it's just ridiculous to even think that's the shoes. That's impressive.
Yeah. But anyway, so if you're like me and use half these things to chase your kids around the house without tearing something, Craig's been refining this framework for years, and hopefully it changes how you think about injury, performance, and all the tools we rely on. So today we're breaking down where this idea came from, how to use artificial capacity the right way, and how people mess it up. Because I think that's our target audience is folks that are beaten up, broken down, and need a new engine.
The down and outers.
Yeah. I don't want to be called one of those. That's me.
Down and out.
I'm a down and outer. All right, let's start it off. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the podcast. We create awesome content on how to keep your body moving. Aside from that, what is artificial capacity?
I wrote a specific definition for this. I'm actually going to read the definition. It's any tool that changes the relationship between physical capacity, what you can make your body do, like we went over 2 episodes ago, and tissue capacity, what your tissues can actually tolerate and handle. And so it's anything that adds, redistributes, or reduces load. And really the purpose most often is to help you function, recover, or perform without exceeding your tissue capacity and occasionally increasing your physical capacity. I just threw a whole bunch of terms and words in there. It's braces and tools that make it so you quit hurting yourself or allows you to perform at a higher level.
Do you want to give me some examples of those things?
Yeah, like it's the crutches that you use if you sprain your ankle to not put weight on it and completely unload it. It could be the knee strap that you put on your patellar tendon when you have pain in the front of your knee when you're jumping. It could be the carbon-plated shoes where somebody uses it to try to get a PR in their marathon. It could be any of those things. They're external tools that provide you extra capacity.
Okay. I use a lot of these things.
I think everyone uses them to some extent all the time. And it's funny. I think it's an aspect of being a human being. Like it's a technology piece. And I think the more clear you are on why you're using it and the problem that you're actually solving with it, the better consumer you can be with it and not feel as dependent or feel like you're making a mistake. Because I often get people who think they'll get told, like, for example, to quit using a lumbar brace when they're supposed to, like where it's actually completely appropriate, and they'll get like fear-based language around it of you're going to make your muscles weaker. but then you don't hear people say the similar thing when they're using another brace or another tool in the exact same format. So it's like different areas of the body get treated very differently.
Let's see. I just want to go through a quick body inventory. I remember being a young athlete and I didn't need anything. I just needed a pair of Jordans. Give me a pair of Jordans. I can go pretty much do anything. Give me a jump over a 50-inch box. I'll jump over a 50-inch box. I want to go dunk. That's fine. I want to go spike volleyballs. That's fine. I want to go sprinting. No problem.
Did you go sprinting?
Recently?
No, back then.
Oh, yeah. Back then I was sprinting all the time.
Yeah, you didn't walk anywhere. You just
Yeah.
full
I would
sprinted.
just, Forrest Gump it like, I'm here to run.
Good Lord.
But now I have to tape my wrist to prevent extension. I've recently had to acquire an elbow brace to prevent hyperextension. I have worn a knee brace for a long while. My shoes basically go up and cover the bottom of my calf to protect my ankles.
You wear that high of shoes.
Have you not seen my Kobe's?
Oh God.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to wear LeBron's.
Dude, best player ever. But anyway, keep going.
He's not. It's been proven several times, even in this podcast.
Unbelievable.
He has the highest stats because he keeps playing. I heard he's going to the G League for a game or two.
No way. No.
I wonder if that's true or not. Anyway, but that said, there are so many things. And yeah, I think one of, if I could grant a wish, but like, I just want to be able to play sports without needing any braces. Can you help me fulfill this wish? Probably not. But why are all of these tools kind of so important, and what prevents the negative side effects?
Well, to kind of go back to what you're saying, back in the day, so one of my contentions would be when you were younger and you were playing, you probably could have used them in a way that was very appropriate. So for example, people who use like ankle braces prophylactically to prevent an ankle sprain, those are totally appropriate. And I often think they may be underused in certain populations where people should be using them as a training aid. That's an artificial capacity. There's things like that at a younger age, because maybe you do have a little bit of mutant juice and you can survive anything. The use of artificial capacity tools is completely underused. Whereas when we get older, because the reason that you have all these braces that you're starting to collect is because you've spent a few years building up this debt in tissue capacity relative to how hard you can play. And because that's happened, you're using these tools to basically make up for it. And so I actually really like going through a body inventory the way he just did and laying out where I can use these so I can actually participate fully in the activity and not completely unload. Like, I actually think that's a really good way that you're currently using them.
I mean, I have to sleep with an elbow brace on, but
yeah, I mean, to really get into it, I actually think that was the thing that caused your improvement. I think that you were triggering your elbow because however you were holding your elbow when you were sleeping. And I feel like you must have like the most active elbow in the world when you're asleep, because I do think that's what was triggering your elbow.
Well, and what I've noticed is like I must like sleep in like the fetal position. I've also been sleeping super hard. Like my sleep scores have been like just upper 90s for like the last, I don't know, 3 months or something like that.
Yeah.
All because my baby has started to sleep through the night. And so I don't know, I've just been really prioritizing my rest and recovery through my sleep. And yeah, I must have just slept way too hard and just.
I still think that's actually what happened. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So the wild part around our bodies, and this kind of goes back to something we were talking about before, is that we have this dynamic balance that's always happening between your physical capacity, tissue capacity, and your energy capacity. We've been going hard on the first two, but you actually have probably a higher level of physical capacity than you did back at certain points that you're talking about. You can probably lift a little bit more. I mean, there's other ways that you're playing that you're able to stress and hit harder, but you clearly have a sleeping issue where you can totally jack up your elbow.
I sleep fantastically. I just destroy my joints while I'm sleeping for
I love
reason.
But I do think that the interesting piece on it is that the tool, they're just tools, and the idea that there's anything bad or good, that's not the case. It's more, to be honest, people using them when they don't need to be using them or not using them when they're 100% needed. You 100% need an elbow sleeve right now because it just makes it so that when you're sleeping at night, you don't piss it off. Like it's like that simple.
Gets really itchy, but aside from that, um, let's talk a little bit about where you got the idea for this model. I think you mentioned that this came from one of your college professors who's
Yeah.
semi-famous in the physical therapy world.
Well, anybody that has read very much on orthotic use and a lot of the stuff around how the foot operates, there's two instructors that were at NAU, Dr. Cornwall and Dr. McPoyle. The first time I read about the idea of using a brace diagnostically and for load management, it was in an article written by Dr. McPoyle. And he came up with this idea that I just thought was like really interesting. It's a tissue stress model. And the idea is that you use the brace to one confirm that you actually have the right tissue that's hurting you. So it's diagnostically, and to unload it so that you actually give it an opportunity to heal. And prior to reading that, for me in physical therapy, bracing and taping and all those other things were not tools that I used that much. It was more like I was really heavily into like the exercise and manual therapy. And it's not that there's anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with that as a paradigm, but man, I find the bracing and taping, the tools around artificial capacity are incredibly useful and correct. And like I said, they're not used that much. But yeah, he was the first guy, and it really helped put together some missing pieces in our rehab model.
Yeah. And I know that we've talked about it before. You don't really want to make these things a part of your everyday normal life. In some instances, it's necessary to kind of build that rehab gap up. But yeah, I have found that even some kind of long-term temporary bracing has helped me quite a bit.
Oh,
Just
100%.
recover faster from little nagging injuries that I keep getting.
Well, we use phases at SPC to define where somebody's at and their rehab process and really in their activity journey. We start with diagnostics, we move to symptom stabilization, then it's activity progression, and then finally it's some level of maintenance, monitoring, and performance for the rest of their life. And we use the three capacities: energy capacity, tissue capacity, and physical capacity to help us understand where somebody's body currently is at and what type of activity they can do. Now, the bracing, for example, I use a lumbar brace first thing in the morning when I'm sitting to write. I really enjoy that. That's like my thinking time, and that's when I normally do if I'm going to write something, if I write a script, if I'm looking up something that I want to read. I don't want to have to think about core engagement or overloading my back. So it's just a tool so that I don't irritate my back inadvertently first thing in the morning. I'm not going to stop doing that. So it's a tool.
I thought it was bad that I had to wear an elbow brace to sleep, but
I
having to
hate
put on a back brace right when you wake up, that makes you seem very OLD.
it does make me seem OLD. But there's some physical reasons for that. I mean, your discs are hyperhydrated first thing when you wake up in the morning. I have had a recurrent disc injury that I manage really well that doesn't really ever bother me anymore. If I if I don't use it, I typically also have no response, but there's no risk to it detraining my core. It doesn't really change anything. I'm not that uncomfortable when I'm using it, but it takes away the issues that I had with tissue creep, which is this whole idea that your tissue under load will start to deform and be more susceptible to injury. And because there's more pressure on the disc, because the disc is hydrated first thing in the morning, I have an injury history around it, and I just don't want to have to think about it. It's a very useful tool. I kind of think of it as a training aid. Like it's more prophylactic. I'm not using it to because I actually hurt, but it's preventing me from hurting myself on accident.
Yeah. I think, at least in the volleyball world, that's the idea behind ankle braces. If you go to any big volleyball tournament, you'll probably see, I don't know, 70% of people wearing some sort of ankle brace just to try and prevent those things.
It is for sure. I mean, that's 100% the idea. And some of the first areas I was looking at in the like when we were doing research on injury screening, it involves stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in rehab, what would you say that artificial capacity actually does?
So it really falls into two things for me. The number one is that it supports your tissue capacity. So, and we'll put up a graph right now, but you can look at where your physical capacity currently is compared to where your tissue capacity currently is. If tissue capacity is lower, it supports your tissue capacity to be at a higher level, sometimes up to matching physical capacity, sometimes just matching what your daily activity intensity average is, like how hard or your daily work is. Like you might wear a brace or use a tool, or like you go in for a hike and you decide, hey, I'm going to do like a harder hike over more rough terrain. I may use poles to help with my balance, make sure I don't have a fall. Those are tissue capacity issues that you're basically addressing. Um, the second one is performance, and you can do it to make it so that, hey, if there's something that I want to be able to do at a higher level, like I always think around sports, but you've seen guys wear gloves that have a little bit more friction on them so they can catch a ball. That's a artificial capacity. You're improving your performance capacity, and because of that extra grip, right? Balls that somebody would throw really hard that may just slip through your hand, they're going to stick to the hand, but now you have to actually be able to absorb the force that gets produced by it,
Yeah, that's interesting.
right?
I didn't think about like, yeah, NFL players and their gloves being an
hmm
artificial capacity.
I mean, so is a helmet. I mean, like it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting to think about, like when you really start to get into this idea, they're all over. I mean, we that's all the things that we use. A chair can be an artificial capacity. Like imagine if you didn't have a chair to sit in right now, what that would
I would
be
just
like.
stand, sit on
Yeah.
the floor.
Yeah, and then like the table that you're using. I mean, you can go pretty freaking far on
You
how
had to
big
make
of
it
a thing
weird
it
there.
is. I know, but it's like that we're surrounded by tools. It's just interesting which tools we decide are not good for us is kind of the part that I'm always like kind of surprised by.
Is my mustache an artificial capacity?
Well, no,
No.
because it's part of your body.
Okay, got
Yeah,
it. All right. Natural
but
capacity.
your sweater. Yeah.
Keep
All
it
right,
warm.
get it back
All right,
online.
we're
Yeah.
back on track here. Where does this fall in the real world, I guess?
Yeah, I look at it like this. So I really find it in five areas. Number one is to diagnose. So it's diagnostics. Like I'll use a modified Lodi taping to confirm what I think is happening to somebody's foot. I may not use it to develop a therapeutic gap. It may just be to say, yeah, this is what your actual problem is.
Right.
The second one is to completely unload some tissue that's hurt. That would be, think of like a crutch, right? So say you have a stress fracture and we can't load your foot whatsoever. We might put you in crutches. We might put you in like a boot. We might put you in something that basically makes it so you can't load the thing that got hurt at all. Complete avoidance. That's a crutch, in my opinion. And there's a whole bunch of different types of crutches that you can use. Have you ever seen somebody with a scooter,
Oh yeah.
like the knee scooter?
No,
Like,
my mother had to have one of those after she wrecked her ankle.
yeah. And so you're completely unloading it,
Yeah.
right? Then the next one's a load manager. Load managers are, I think it's kind of funny. They're the most overused and the most underused tools. Like, so you have sometimes like somebody gets put into an orthotic basically to help unload how rapidly you're moving into pronation, but then they never get out of it. Even once the injury's healed, they get convinced that that's the only way that they can stay healthy with their foot. Instead of doing things to continue building their artificial or continue to build their tissue capacity, they get stuck on using this tool forever because they think there's something inherently wrong with their foot.
That's an interesting concept because I was thinking like I wear some of these braces and for me, just kind of mentally it makes me forget that I have an injury there or maybe that I've had pain there and I mean it helps me in the performance capacity because I can just kind of go all out and not have to maybe worry about the injury as much.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any literature on that out there that confirms that mentally it can maybe just be a placebo effect whether you're injured or not. It just makes you think that you're not, so you can go all out.
Yeah. It's actually, well, I think even that is valuable though.
Right?
Like I do
Yeah.
think
No,
that is
I find a
valuable.
lot of value in it.
Yeah. Where I think the issue on it is if it makes it where it becomes a problem with a load manager is anything that really does take off load means that you're not adapting your tissues to the stresses that need to be present for your tissue to continue to improve and be able to handle more and more. Like tissue capacity will dramatically reduce like over time if you completely unload the tissue,
Yeah.
right? And so the idea here is that you want to unload it, but not completely unload it with load management. It's like there still needs to be some stress going through it. And if you permanently use a load manager, you can run into an issue where you make it so you can never operate without it. And and so it's part of the process. Like the longer you have it, the bigger of an issue it becomes. But if you start to get to where you don't need the load manager anymore and you're using it prophylactically, which is a training aid, that's a very big difference in use. Like one, I think you only use it during like peak stress events and stuff that you're concerned you might overload it. That would be appropriate the way you're talking about braces with volleyball. But if on your day-to-day basis, you wore those all the time, and like that's the only way you could operate throughout the day with these kind of almost like a safety blanket to make you
Yeah.
feel better, that's an issue. Like
Yeah.
that's a misuse of it. So like we'll come back to it, but the lumbar brace, my God, like that's like the one that I always, it's
There's
funny,
people
like
that just wear it every single day for
they
years.
wear it every single day for years. We've had multiple times where we're co-working with a patient and they go see their physician and we have put them in a brace for their low back and it's clearly helping. It's clearly making it so that they quit triggering their symptoms over and over again. They wear it during very specific times of the day. And then the physician will tell them to stop wearing it because it's going to make their muscles weaker based off of no literature support, no testing, just kind of like a reflex response to the patient, which is it's just ridiculous, but it's also just not thoughtfully thought out of like what is this actually being used by the patient for. So load management's like the one that's like I think takes the most nuance and the most um consideration. And I think it's the like I said, most underused and overused for different reasons. And then, like I said, then you have the prophylactic use. We call those training aids. It's like things that you know from your own injury history or maybe the activity that you're doing. These are the types of injuries that often happen. Okay, I'm going to wear a brace to make sure that that doesn't happen. The classic one is wearing an ankle brace in sports where ankle sprains are really common, really high likelihood of it occurring. It makes total sense. And the final one is performance enhancement, like we talked about, like gloves. But you can think of it as the carbon plate shoes, but it's anything where you use it to get a performance advantage. The big one on that one is to really think through: is your tissue ready to handle that increased probably force and load that's going to happen with that tool?
You can throw some springs in my shoe any day. I don't care if I can handle it or not. If it makes me jump 5 inches higher, I'll go for it.
I often think about that with so where do most injuries with jumping happen? Do they happen in the takeoff or the landing?
Landing.
And so
Yeah.
does it help with the land? Like it's always like to me it's if you're having an issue already with force absorption and then you make it so you can go farther, get higher, and then now it's just a probability like how long to this you can't handle that load anymore. And so it's just being really clear on how this is how I'm using it, why I'm using it, and is the risk versus the reward what I want it to be. Yeah.
Um, what are the big mistakes? I know we talked about wearing it too long, but what else should we look out for?
Well, it's making sure that you understand why. The biggest mistake is not understanding why you're using it. And I think actually we could kind of go through yours would be really useful. It's being very clear on what problem you're addressing. Is it that you don't know what's causing the symptoms? Is it that you have something that you have to fully unload and you want to stabilize where this injury is at? Is it because there's certain aspects of load that you can't handle and you just need some support? Is that you're afraid of an injury recurring, like which I think is very reasonable with some of your stuff. And then finally, are you ready to handle more stresses? Are you ready to take on more stress, maybe even increase your physical capacity because your tissue capacity is actually higher than your physical capacity?
I wear high top shoes to reduce potential injuries of the ankle. The knee brace is a little bit for that pain, mental side of it, but I also go down on that side, like when taking a knee to dig a volleyball. And so there's some padding on it, and that generally will just avoid me getting like knee bruises. The wrist is to avoid too much extension in the wrist. Same thing on the mental side of things. Like I just kind of forget that my wrist is really hurting while playing, and
Yeah.
it just helps a lot there. And then the elbow brace currently is for trying to limit the motion a little bit while still giving me the motion I need to play. And then same thing, that mental side of thing, like I'll just forget about it for a little while playing.
Which is good. So one of the ways I look at it with the brace would be it's kind of similar to the body inventory, and you can put this on your body inventory when you're using these tools and why you're using the tools. So from what I just heard that you walk through, some of them are a lot of them are load management. So the one around his wrist where he's reducing the extension, that's a load manager, right? So then I like to go through what would tell you that you don't need it as much anymore.
Overall, I would say probably just pain threshold is like my biggest concern, because if it gets too far extended still, I still get a pretty decent amount of pain out of it. Um, and yeah, I've played probably twice without it, and both of those did not go very well. So part of me thinks as long as I'm playing volleyball at a high level, I'll probably just continue to use it. There
Yeah.
might never be a time where it comes off, which I'm not super concerned about because I'm only wearing it for a limited amount of time.
And when you first started with it, though, you had it on throughout your whole day. Like you've
Yeah,
really constrained it now to just the sport activity,
right.
correct? One way that he could progress that would be I always think of it in two ways, would be the amount of time that he's using it and then the amount of support. So he's already reducing the amount of time, right?
Yep.
The other one would be, you know, say you start the games with it and you take it off halfway through your matches. Like,
Right.
so like you start the half the match and then you take it off the last half of the match. Those are really easy ways to continue to progress so that he's still getting the load that he needs for the tissue to continue to develop the ability to handle stresses.
Yeah.
Um,
I've also just reduced the amount of tape. I used to do like 6 layers, and I do 3 to 4 layers now,
and that's
which seems
exactly
like
it.
kind of the good spot for me that I'll probably do for a good long while still. But yeah, it seems to be working out pretty well.
And that's one of the advantages of tape, that you can reduce the amount of support. So that's a perfect example of really well developed load management. Now the elbow is kind of interesting because it was the issue, not to overshare, is that you kept triggering it without understanding what the hell was triggering it.
Right.
And it really ended up being sleep.
At least we're
I mean, really pretty
pretty
sure,
sure. Yeah.
because the big difference was as the use of the elbow sleeve made a large difference in swelling and improved your range of motion,
Yeah.
which we didn't know at the time that he had his thumb in his mouth when he slept and that it was only your left arm.
Yeah. And I'm just holding on tight, trying to not let the bed bugs bite.
That's so tough. So how would you think of progressing that one?
I don't know. It
'Cause-
makes me nervous. So so I'll probably continue to use it while I play for a while until I'm completely symptom free and can put some more load on it. Like I haven't really done any elbow flexing upper body exercises really since the injury occurred. I'm doing a little bit, but not like bench pressing or any pressing or really any heavy holds either. So like I need to progress those things first before I can really move on and test it. And I still have some soreness there too. So like it's not completely resolved yet either.
I've had before where I'm working with somebody who hurt their elbow and I actually put them in a brace that they couldn't move it at all when they slept at night. And that was really useful. And that that'd be like a crutch. So you're not using it as a crutch. You're definitely still, even that one, you're using it as load management.
Yeah.
This is the counterintuitive part, is load management doesn't have to be, you don't have to be even awake for it. So sometimes people who have like nasty back pain and they say they think it's their mattress. It's not their mattress. It's that they roll at night. And so putting a lumbar brace when you sleep can actually be a really good tool for load management. And that's actually how I think you're using it. Kind of counterintuitive. But isn't it is it a compression sleeve, or is it actually limiting?
No, it's just compression.
It's a compression sleeve.
Yeah. But I feel like it limits full
extension,
extension
which is
or
provocative.
flexion. I
Yeah,
think it's the flexion actually is what I'm feeling is
I think
maybe
so
the
too.
problem,
I think so
which is
too.
weird because it was an extension problem initially. So yeah, just an odd issue.
Well, it's important to remember that you have
Joint.
an irritated joint, and the structure that's irritated is your synovium, and so that it gets irritated in range positions.
Yeah.
So extension and flexion, and with full flexion, that's typically the most significant issue with hinge joints. So like your elbow and your knee. So anything that limits that last little bit, and this is kind of goes back to the idea of you can inject this, you can do manual therapy and traction it, and it'll make it better in the moment. But if 6 hours of the night you're holding it in this provocative flex position that's not quite enough to wake you up, but it is enough to make it so it hurts worse the next day, these types of tools are perfect. And so then if I was going to progress that one, right, as a load manager, you could go with thinner brace. That'd be like one of the most easy ways. You could start to have where you go to bed with it and then you take it off when you wake up. The first time that you wake up throughout the night, you can slip it off. Those would be ways of reducing it where you're just basically allowing the tissue to still kind of be loaded. Sleep's an interesting one though, because it can be so easy to dramatically piss it off and not realize you did it,
Yeah.
you know?
That's one, the same thing I'll just hang with for a while until I feel like it's in a much better place than it is right now.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So like I said, load management's the biggest one. Which one do you use prophylactically? Which one are you using as a training aid? Are there any of them that you're using? It sounds like your shoes are the only one.
Probably.
Yeah. And that's
And
actually
same
a good
thing,
one.
like I only use those when I'm playing volleyball. So
Yeah. So he uses his shoes prophylactically. And that's kind of a cool part is it's a tool and you don't even have to really think about it too much after you put it on. Right. It's like it's just there. The idea is not so much that you're trying to unload anything. It's just maybe really taking out those peak stress events that your body may not, like even novel stress events that your body may have a bad response to. You're just kind of taking them off the playing field or making it so that you have enough physical capacity and tissue capacity to manage it in the moment.
yeah. And if you're
Yeah.
not familiar with the Kobe 9 highs, they are just an exaggerated high top from the year that Kobe tore his Achilles tendon.
Seriously, that's where they came from.
Yeah. So
They didn't stop him from tearing his Achilles, though.
he made them after he tore his Achilles.
Okay.
So, but yeah, they're not as stiff as, like a super rigid ankle brace. They're even not as stiff as, a fabric ankle brace. They're just an exaggerated high top. So same thing, just gives me a little bit more confidence that I can go all out without really having to think about my ankles.
I like it. I often think where you get like higher and more surface area touching your skin, you're just getting a better proprioceptive effect, like
Yeah.
telling you where you're at in space.
Right.
Yeah.
Nope. Makes
I
me
like
feel
it.
good.
Nice. I think that's a good way to kind of overview it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do you want to, I know you wanted to go over like a case example. I think it was maybe a runner with some heel pain.
Yeah. I wanted to get really specific. I think runners might be the ones who use it the worst. Like they get stuck in different tools and
Like when
patterns.
when I think of a runner, I think like what do you need? Like I don't feel like when I see runners out on the river loop or on the trail, like maybe they've got some nice shoes, but
Well, their shoes would be an artificial
but
capacity.
is that like their main artificial capacity? Like I don't see them wearing the patellar straps. I don't see them wearing elbow braces.
Well, and so sometimes I think they should be.
Oh,
Like there's
okay.
certain things I think they should.
Elbow braces.
Well, I mean, like I've had
You
before,
running and just jacking up your elbows.
right? Like it could be. I've had before where we used taping to make it so that their neck quit hurting when they ran. Like so
Okay, that one
sometimes
kind of makes sense.
I've had clients where like they're getting this like really intense base of their neck pain and you don't really think about it, but every time that you land, if you ever watch somebody run who has like long hair and see how their hair kind of goes over, like it's like always moving across, like moving.
I don't look at those things.
So if you ever watch somebody run who has long hair and say they have it in a ponytail, you'll see the crazy amount of stresses going through their neck
Oh, okay.
because it'll like start to, their hair will like move around, even if it doesn't look like their head's moving. And that's because your body is counterbalancing the forces going through it so well, you don't even realize it. But
I
obviously
couldn't
it's
tell
not
what
doing
you
it
were
with the
getting
hair.
at there.
I know. And so if you think about it, it's not uncommon for somebody to have neck pain or neck discomfort when they're running.
Yeah.
It'll feel like here, and oftentimes they'll be like, I'm getting a stitch, or they'll say stuff that's not accurate, but it's like you're irritating your neck. You just don't realize you're irritating your neck. And so one of the artificial tools that you can use would be you can strap the shoulder blade back slightly. And what it does is it just stabilizes the whole complex and the person might feel more comfortable.
That is an artificial stabilization that I have used in the past.
It works, and that one works for your ability to produce force too. So sometimes it can be a physical capacity boost as well. But yeah, runners I think underuse and overuse. So what the overuse I think is an over reliance on their shoe technology. The not understanding why certain shoes make you feel so good when you run in them. And then I think they underuse other tools and ignore injuries often. Like what you said, like I know it's kind of a joke, but if your back hurts when you're running, a lumbar brace works really well.
I guess I see like a lot of calf sleeves too.
Yeah, and that's another one that's interesting. They'll have had a history of calf cramping, for example, or calf strain. They'll use that sleeve, but they don't actually address the actual issue that's driving the injury. So it's like sometimes they're using it as symptom maskers, which also sucks, and it's a misuse of the bracing. So like I think runners are fascinating because first, I absolutely love working with runners. It's an insane population who's addicted to the activity, and it's like so they're very fun in that way. But then a lot of times it's because if it's a repetitive activity, you can have minor issues that become humongous issues by the end of the run. And so the bracing and taping can almost seem miraculous, but it's just because you fix a small problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to go through runners. This would be a fun one. I know I think I put on there FDB pain, but I can do almost any injury with it. So FDB pain is flexor digitorum brevis tendinopathy. I don't think we have done a podcast on this. That's right.
Yep, we've done an FDB versus plantar fasciitis podcast. Check that one out if you're a runner.
Most runners, I think, who get plantar heel pain on the bottom of their heel, they're dealing with a flexor digitorum brevis tendinopathy.
Right.
And that's a muscle belly on the bottom. The tendon connects to your heel, mimics what most people think of as plantar fasciitis. They'll have cramping. They'll have achiness. They'll have pain first thing in the morning. They'll have bought every type of ball and soft tissue device to work on the bottom of their foot. They often will ice a water bottle rolled on their foot, like all the classic things, right? So here's a way to think of it using bracing and taping and artificial capacity. So the first thing that I would do when you come in, I go through an exam. We confirm that the most likely thing that's hurting you is your flexor digitorum brevis. I would do the modified Lodi taping. And what that will do is it transfers the force that's going through your flexor digitorum brevis and transfers it to the tape.
This is your patented taping method.
It's definitely not patented. And it should be.
Yeah.
It's just a modification. The biggest thing is that we found is that you can make the tape can actually provide support for up to 5 days. That's what we found in our study on it. Previous literature had shown, anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours using other taping methods.
How do we get that changed to the Smith Lodi or the PYP Lodi?
I don't think that's going to happen. No.
Right.
I hope more people start to use it. But you have to be careful. What we found when we were doing the taping or when I was first experimenting with it is I would put it on too tight and I'd hurt people. Just always
rip their skin off.
I've definitely made people's skin very irritated with it. But you would use the modified Lodi, and I confirm that that's what it is. Now, depending on how severe the person's symptoms are, I may leave that tape on. That may be a load manager that we use. The most severe cases, like I'll have sometimes where people come in and it still really hurts even with that tape on it. And they've been basically just hammering the crap out of it for years and they just need some relief. I will actually put these individuals on crutches. Now, the mistake on this one is that people will boot it as well. A boot won't help with this situation because you're still going to get load through your plantar intrinsics when you're in a boot. Right. So a crutch, like actual crutches underneath the arms or the scooter, that would be if you have to fully unload it, that's how you'd fully unload it. After we get through where we have the diagnosis, where we really handle a really irritable case if we use crutches, then you would use it as a load manager. And this is by far my favorite tape job is the modified Lodi for this one, but there's so many other tools. So anything that basically helps to reduce the loading response through mid stance, like how much force you're absorbing during pronation, will help to reduce this. So things like a surf strap, which is like this thing that wraps around your hip and basically produces this really strong external rotation force at your hip. It will also reduce pain with this, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Modified Lodi post-hip compression brace, where you basically wrap the foot up very similar, and it basically just reduces your ability to do it. Medial heel wedge, posted orthotics, anything that's basically going to make it so that you pronate slower, we'll all unload this, which is kind of cool. So you have a ton of options for load management. A lot of shoes now, a lot of running shoes actually will help with this.
Hokas.
Wow, Hokas. Depends on the Hoka.
They have gotten so popular. That wasn't even like a thing 2 years ago.
Dude, they're baller shoes. They look, some of them, the old school ones look ridiculous. They still have like kind of like a marshmallow feel sometimes, but I do think that's a cool shoe. The ones when it really works, it really helps. I love Hokas for people who have midfoot injuries, like midfoot joint injuries. But anyway, not before I start to nerd out on feet. That
but Hoka, if you want to sponsor us, throw it this way.
It's so dumb. Yeah. So the big thing on this one is you want to progress from using, like if we pick the modified Lodi, you would use the tape to basically take away all pain with all activity to start with. So you would use it up to 7 days for the first time we put the tape on to manage load with walking, manage load with running. But then the progression with load management would be you only do it during the run.
Right.
And then you take it off afterwards. That's like an intelligent, well thought out way to use the tape to support it. And then you may actually have where you only do it through half the run. That would be a load management strategy. Now, after they get through that part, say that'd be typically you're going to get the case discharged. The person's no longer having the foot pain. Then you would use it as a training aid. Say hey, I'm going to add in speed work at the track, and I know I'm going to be landing harder. I just don't want this to recur. I'm going to put the tape on during my speed work training. The other time that I recommend people doing it is if they just got through a bout of this and they're starting to do a volume build. I do it during the volume build as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Works really well.
And then the last one is like the performance enhancement.
Just remember that anytime that you produce more force, right, you have to absorb more force. And so then you could also think of if you put the carbon plate shoe on, so that's the most obvious example, and you're getting more stresses that you have to handle when you land, you might want to put the tape on as well. So now you're using two different tools. You have one that's a performance enhancer to make it so that you're getting longer strides, running a little faster, absorbing more force. You might use a modified Lodi to support it, but you also don't have to. So you can have different tools that you're doing for different things. It's just being clear on what you're using the tool for.
I used a carbon plated insole and I don't think it actually helped my physical output.
Oh, that's cool. Did you test it? Do you like measure it?
No.
Just how you felt on the court?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the amount is very minimal. I think it, like in some of the ways, the way that the plate works, it's really good, in my opinion, in what you call the monocyclical activities, ones that you do repetitively and where you can have like even a small gain will aggregate into a huge gain by the end. But like with you,
but a single jump. Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah.
They've got fantastic advertising though.
They really do.
And great spokespeople. So that's how they got me. Anyway, anything else to talk about artificial capacity?
I think that I bored everybody enough at this point. Yeah,
that's all right. It sounds like the big takeaway is simple. These tools aren't necessarily good or bad. They just change the relationship between your body, what it can do, and what your tissues can handle. If you understand why you're using them, they're incredibly powerful. If you don't, they can create more problems than they solve. If you're dealing with an injury, ramping up training, or trying to push performance, use this framework to guide your decisions instead of guessing or chasing trends. If you want more breakdowns like this, check out the show notes. You can go over to pastyourprime.com. Follow us on Instagram at pastyourprimepodcast. We've got blog posts, videos, resources, and a lot more to come there. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow. Comment if you want season 2. We're talking about renewal for season 2.
Yeah, are we going to do this or not? Yeah.
Podcast. We're near our goal of 50 episodes this year. And I think we both enjoy doing it, but we want people out there to enjoy us doing it as well. So let us know. Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for listening, and I think we'll see you on the next one.
BYP, baby.
Peace.